So we're live from Book Expo America 2014, and I'm Nicole Brevner, Senior Editor with Mira Books, and I am here interviewing my author, Robyn Carr. She's the New York Times best-selling author of the Virgin River and Thunder Point series, and she's here promoting her new book, Four Friends. So Robyn, let me look at my questions. So, Four Friends is a bit of a departure from your series of Thunder Point and Virgin River. So tell me about writing Four Friends and what that departure was like for you.
Well, it's actually not the first women's fiction I've done. I've done a few of them before. The House on Olive Street, A Summer in Sonoma, Never Too Late. However, this means that if there's any romance contained in the book, it is pertinent to women's issues and not just love and marriage and happily ever after. So the premise was a happily married couple finds out that their marriage isn't as solid as they thought it was, and now they have to go about the business of recovering or parting ways. And there are four women in the neighborhood who are all in crisis, and they're best friends, and they pull each other through it. And it's really, really, really fun. And you will never read a Robyn Carr book and be depressed.
That's true.
It's safe.
You give your characters some very challenging issues to deal with, but you also find resolution for those issues, and generally in a way that has people satisfied for the characters and also for the reader. Obviously, that's very important for you to do something like that.
It's very important. I don't want to, I'm not that kind of author. I don't write a dark book. I don't write a depressing book. I think it can be very real life and realistic and also be positive. Because I'm real life and optimistic and positive, and I have real problems, and so I think it's okay.
Well, you have a wonderful family, a wonderful husband, wonderful children, and so I imagine people want to know where some of this marital strife comes from. Where do you get your inspiration for these characters who are struggling with their marriages?
Well, do you think I've never had a marital strife? I'm married over 40 years. There's been one or two. I'm not saying. I haven't been down that particular road, but we all know if it hasn't happened to you, it's happened to your sister or your girlfriend or somebody you work with. I mean, those issues are everywhere, and this is what makes it women's fiction, is that women talk about these things all the time. And they examine them, and they poll each other, and they take each other's blood pressure and pulse all the time to see how they're handling their stuff, and if they're collapsing or if they're getting through it. Men have all the same issues: divorce, death, widowhood, parenting, aging parents, all the same issues, except that they usually say, "Hey, how about those Yankees?" and that's about how they deal with it.
Right. So speaking of men, I mean, you put an equal balance with all of your characters, male characters, female characters, young, old. With the male characters in your book, you know my personal favorite in this book is Bob. He is near and dear to my heart. But who's your personal favorite?
I think it's a tie between Phil and Bob. Now, I'm going to be honest. I didn't think I was as mad at Phil in the beginning as his wife was. But by the time he evolved, he became like a fantasy man to me, because here was a man, a fallible human being who made tremendous mistakes in his marriage, and he evolved into somebody who could not only rectify those mistakes and learn from them, but become a better man. Now, Bob is just so present in the moment.
Yeah.
Wise and philosophical and loving and focused. It is so, as a woman, it is so important for your spouse or your partner to be focused.
Right.
And how often are they? Not often. Not often. They're usually on another planet, or they're visiting their empty box. But Bob was so present and focused on Andy, and that made, even though he wasn't handsome, that made him the sexiest man alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you particularly excel at writing strong female characters, and I mean strong in character, strong in opinion. And Jerry is one of those women who's very opinionated, can be a little rough around the edges sometimes, but everyone depends on her. Do you think she represents a lot of women?
I think she does, and I think she scares a lot of women.
Yeah.
I think that that there were some people who said, I didn't like her. She was too angry. Well, you'd be angry too. And I think that she's tough, resilient, loving, loyal. She has a million good qualities, and most women would want to be her friend. They would feel honored to be supported by that character. But some women are a little afraid of strong women, especially stronger women.
Right.
So, yeah, I think she's unusually great. I don't know if she represents a lot of women, but definitely many.
Right. And you've described Four Friends as the book of your heart. So, I mean, having written as many books as you have, why does this one stand out so much for you?
I have always been fascinated by relationships, and I always want to know about people and their relationships, and I think that's what a lot of women's fiction is. It's about when we first met, the first time we sat down together socially, I needed to know how you met your husband.
Yes.
And I
know that's going to end up in a book sometime.
I don't know if I can disguise it. But I'm so fascinated with the relationships, and in this book, the relationships between the men and women and the women and women and all of the other characters were all so interesting to me. And I don't really understand a lot of situations until I write about them. And this was especially true in this one. I didn't know how Phil and Jerry were going to manage their situation. He'd had an affair. And we always say that's the deal breaker, not going any further. So I didn't know how that was going to turn out. And I learned a lot by writing that story.
Right. Well, I think it shows the importance of compromise and understanding what is going on in each other's lives and making the right decisions to have a solid relationship and not sticking to a flat-out idea of this happens. Like
exactly.
There are choices to
I don't
be made.
recommend you tell your husband that if he has an affair, it can all be worked out. That's probably not good advice. But, some people get through murder and stay together. So there are always intelligent options.
So, Four Friends is out now, and what will you be working on next?
I'm doing 3 more Thunder Point books for 2015, and then I have absolutely no idea. I can only think 1 year at a time.
1 year at a time.
1 year at a time.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me. I mean, we talk almost every day, but we'll not always on camera, though. So,
thank Jesus.
So that's it for us from Book Expo America. Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you.